Hello, I'm Toycat and welcome back to another third channel walk and talk video. This is the heaviest corner on earth here in downtown Birmingham, Alabama. And it's really interesting because when I hear the phrase heaviest corner in the world, ignoring the fact that I don't even understand what it's meant to mean, apparently this is the heaviest corner on earth too. What does any of this actually mean? But besides not understanding it, my immediate reaction, maybe this is me being jaded from old age, but my immediate reaction is like, well, is it really? What weird specific definition do we have to use to make this one correct? And the answer in almost all the cases is something along the lines of like, yeah, well, we use a very specific definition of corner. We use a record that's very hard to measure and define that people wouldn't be able to check against, and then we end up there. And basically, so many of these like fun statements that try to seem like superlatives can't be true, because almost any superlative, you know, the best of something, the worst of something, the biggest of something, the smallest of something, not only are they very hard to prove, but they're very, very rare. There is only one best everything on earth. And so if you want to be the best at something, you need to subdivide that category down. And anyway, I wanted to talk today about something that annoys me in tangential to this, and or not annoys me, but I think about, and I think it's important to consider. And I guess that's the fact that everything has a little bit of truth in it, right? Like, I think you go the other way and you could say everything has a little bit of lie to it. You know, like, is that really the heaviest corner in the world? What does heaviest corner in the world means? But I'd rather take the optimistic angle and say, I think almost any statement you can say has the tiniest bit of truth to it. I think that you can even go a lot further than that if you really want to. And, you know, it seems absurd. Like, if I make a statement like, you know, this tunnel is underwater, that's a lie. If I say something like, my grandmother is a burger, you know, that's also an absurd statement, right? There can't be any truth to any of these things. And ultimately, you know, it can seem like that. It can seem like there are some things that are inherently just not true in the slightest. And when I was a teenager, I think I would build a personality around disliking things that people like too much. You know, this idea that like, oh yeah, you know, you think something's so good, this is the best show ever. No, it's not. You're dumb. You're wrong. Oh, you think that it's actually fun to do things? No, life is eternal misery. I had a lot of Christian friends, and just for fun, I make them question their beliefs in God. You know, like, you know, I feel like it was always an interesting thing to see people's like how well they can defend the beliefs in their head. And a lot of this is definitely just Toycat being a bit of a edgy teenager, and let's be honest, somewhat of a dick. I think trying to let people believe what they want to is probably an important part of being human and being alive. But the thing about it that seems so interesting to me is that like you learn things almost exclusively by the networks that are around you. And I think this is one of the biggest things that contributes to like, let's call it sectorization of society. If you want to use more extreme terms, like, I don't know, like inequality. Like, if you have the number one determinant for if you're going to be successful is if there are successful people around you, or wealthy, or whatever the heck measurement you want to use. And the opposite can be true, right? It is crazy to think about, but it's because we have these like information networks that come from people. You know, something I do that people despise me for, but like when someone says something that's so obviously garbage BS, I'm like, you sure about that one? And then like, you know, we'll Google it, and you know, feel like I lose some friends that way. But ooh, what is this? The Western Gateway. Let's go for it. Oh, they have scooters here? Why have I not been the Rotary Trail? Ooh, exciting. Why have I not been riding a scooter this whole time? But yeah, it's really interesting to kind of realize that you know, we say all these things all the time like they're true when they can't be. But then you come to the conclusion like, how can you find something that is objectively 100% true? You know, there's lots of fun statistics like, do you know the average human has one testicle and one breast? And it's like, well, You know, there's so many different angles you can come at this, but basically, I think it's 47% of the world population that's male and 53 that is female. It is, it's pretty heavily imbalanced, actually. And so this means that logically, very logically to me, you're going to have this situation where there are fewer testicles and more breasts. But then, you know, in fact, I think you get what, like 0.47, you'd end up with about 0.94 testicles per average person. But then what about, you know, when you throw in people who have lost theirs through testicular cancer? What about people who get mastectomies? What about people who, you know, get those things added? What about intersex people? And you, you very quickly realize you can't actually come with that statistic. Like there's some truth to the, you know, oh, this is the average if you take a finite group of people. But the moment you try to apply something to humanity, a 7 billion strong collective, it stops working. And I think the thing about like every statement is there's like some level of that. We believe things that are like the reason I used to think that humans just loved sharing garbage with each other, but the truth is there's very little non-garbage to share. Like, you know, is the crisis happening in Venezuela political or economical? Is the, you know, you know, are humans destined for inequality, or are we a species that thrives for the opposite? Is the United States one of the, you know, I'm here in the deep south, is the United States one of the more tolerant countries in the world, or are they so intolerant? You know, is the fact that they will call out their own intolerance like other countries make them more tolerant or less tolerant? You know, there's these eternal questions where any fact on either side can be, you know, like when you're trying to disprove things, you can disprove pretty much anything humans say to each other, because we spread ideas, we don't spread facts. And so I think being in control of what facts and things around it, this is weirdly echoey. Also, this is a nice trail for just the middle of a big city. I think it's the biggest city in Alabama, one of the biggest cities in the South. But it's really interesting because we have all these ideas, and I feel like they spread things into our brain that can really make a huge impact. Something someone said to me forever ago, again, I like to always point out before I say something from a particular person. I believe this person's in prison now, so maybe let's not take their advice with a grain of salt. But they said something like, the best diet involves never making yourself hungry. That does bad things to your body. And it stuck with me, and I still stick to that. Like if I'm hungry, I don't see that as like, yeah, burning them calories. I see, you know, like which is what it should be. I should be high, you know, like rather this is actually not this is what, but even though that's wrong, I think that's like the idea of your body burning fewer calories when you're hungry or some garbage isn't true. But what it is like, yeah, if you starve yourself for 3 days, that's going to have some bad impacts. It hurts so much more, you know, to eat 20% less a day for 5 times as many days than to eat 0% for one, you know, like it hurts in a different way, but it's better for you. And as a result, sharing some inaccuracies can lead people to do good things. I think the world's biggest inaccuracy, sorry to spoiler alert, I'm not talking about your religion, I'm talking about the other religions. Obviously your religion is the right one, and I'm not talking about yours, I'm talking about every other religion here. But doesn't religion have some good bits of that? I know you think, oh yeah, no, not those other religions. And yeah, exactly, that's what I'm talking about. Those other, in case you are religious. If you're not religious, then all religions. But like, they all have this like, you know, you need to be, there's lots of guiding principles about how there's a plan for all of us, and you know, we're all gonna do our bits, and they're all you could argue based on a lie, besides your religion's one. But the good they bring to humanity is pretty high. I don't know, I think especially earlier humanities than now, where we don't have these giant information networks, it's pretty decent. I think that certain things that people believe are objectively wrong, like, you know, if you commit a crime, what's the easiest crime I can commit around here? Just like kick a sign or something. I don't know, you, like, if you commit a crime, you'll get caught by the police. But it's like, actually the vast majority of that is not. It's a very minute fraction that has really ever pulled up or noticed. Man, I want one of those scooters, and I want them here on this delightful trail on which I find myself walking. Side note, I haven't drank water in like a day. Whenever I'm at a hotel, I don't know if I can drink the water, and so even when I like instinctively try to encourage myself to do it, I try to survive as little time as I can not drinking the water. That's an idea of a true, that's a true thing, by the way. That's the opposite. There are true things that can hurt you. The truth is one of the more painful things, and again, so many circumstances where this is true. But you know, one is like fear. Like I know that you can't drink the tap water in so many places, and as a result, I like will err on the side of caution. But like this dehydration is going to do me so much more damage than the one, you know, which I've done so many times, than the one time where like I would have got some mild bacteria go wrong and I have the, you know, bad bowel problem once. That's going to be so much less severe than just drinking water everywhere and being like, it's probably safe, right? I think it's so interesting. I think hygiene goes the other way. Like if you don't wash your hands after you take a pee, like it's not gonna go badly for you. Let's level with you. But 1 in 1,000 times, it might go badly. You know, you might cause some negative thing either to yourself or someone else in your life. And so like, you know what, believing that every time you have to do it, if that's what it takes to get you to do it, you know, the one time that you desperately are going to cause something wrong, you know, sure, let's go for it. Let's tell these like semi-lies to make people better. And I don't like that. I actually prefer painful truths to comforting lies. But I think it's oh, do you want to walk on the underpass? The Jones Valley Trail. You know, sure, let's go for it. This is not suspicious at all. I am probably going to be okay. But it's so interesting because like, you know, it's nice, you know, this is what you need to do. Sometimes you just need to let yourself wander, see how it goes. It's interesting because almost everything we say has like caveats and bits and asterisks and, you know, opt-out clauses and all this nonsense. And so really, I don't think there are many 100% true statements. And I think that there are very few 100% false statements. So many of these, like, you know, there are religions that don't eat pork because it is a meat that in certain times was way more likely to infect people. And so rather than saying, oh yeah, don't eat it, it's got a 0.1% chance of messing you up, it's like, oh, you don't eat pork because, you know, the God doesn't want it. And if it makes people do it right, I guess that's good. Is this just leading me onto railway tracks? Am I gonna die? Is this the last video? Do you ever see this? If you saw this, I didn't die on the railway tracks, but I do see Shrek with little crosshairs as his eyes. And so I think every statement has a tiny bit of truth inside of it. Yeah, I definitely should not be crossing those railway tracks. Can I keep going anyway? Why does this exist? That's my question. Should I just go down here? Yeah, if cars are meant to be here, then humans can be here, is my definitely not flawed logic. But yeah, it's always so interesting to realize that because I think about immigration debates a lot because there are lots of people who believe that immigrants are doing this or doing that, or like you know, immigrants are criminals. It's like, you know, some percentage of them no doubt are. Does it matter if it's a lower percent than the general population? Does it matter if it's very slightly higher than the general population? Probably not. Does it, you know, like, are they stealing your jobs? Well, not your jobs, but there is a type of job that they are filling that were they not filling, you know, they would offer someone who was not them more money for them. Is what is happening here? You know, there's all these interesting debates around that. And when I think about immigration, I think a lot about my grandparents. I have two grandparents. One of them grew up as a what is colloquially now known as a poor white, right? You know, in a council house in London. Now, you know, being forced out of the area by the amount of investment that rose house prices at the time. Can you believe when he wanted to buy a house, it was going to be like, you know, £7,000. How insane! £7,000 for a house. But yeah, so I have one grandparent who's from London, and my other grandparent is from Sri Lanka, actually. And a lot of people, I saw a Reddit thread today where people were like, yeah, I assume because of how white he is that, like, you know, she was just a, you know, like, you ever look into, like, technically speaking, there's like, we have a few politicians in the UK who are born overseas. I think Andrew Bonar-Law was born in Canada. There's a really famous politician who was born in, like, Zimbabwe, but they're both white. You know, they're descendants of British people who were born in another country and then at some point came back. And so, you know, you can be ethnically Sri Lankan, you know, you can be born in Sri Lanka and still be a white person. You can be born in China and be a white person. There are very few people who are. I wonder what it would be like to be, you know, ethnically European but have a Chinese passport. That's gonna cause you some problems somewhere, right? But you know, like all Chinese people are not Chinese people. Ignoring the fact that we consider Chinese to mean Han Chinese, like, you know, if you did have a Chinese passport despite being European, are you Chinese or are you European? You're both. So if you're both, that means you're not the other thing. Therefore, there's no real statement there. But anyway, so my grandmother, she was born in Sri Lanka. It's an Asian country, just off the tip of India. And although she wasn't actually one of the ethnic native groups there, she was actually, if you'd believe it, she was a descendant of both a combination of like some Portuguese merchants and some native people. There's a term for this usually. It's called Eurasians. People are half and half, and every country has its own term for Eurasians. And if you'd believe it, the term for a Eurasian, a settler of a European and a native in Sri Lanka, is actually called a burger. And so my grandmother is a burger. That statement was 100% true, despite how false it seemed on the surface. And I think if there's any lesson you can take from that, it's that nothing is inherently 100% true or not. Even the most false, patently fake statement in the world can be true if you're just willing to hear someone out and see what they have to say. And if there's anything you can take in this video, I hope it's that. Thank you for watching. Third channel, don't care. My grandmother's burger. Goodbye.